This is episode 40 of Pinnacle FC. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you. We're down to the final four in the Champions League, in the Europa League. I guess we got to touch on the Conference League as well. And we're going to break it all down for you on this week's podcast. I'm dealing with a little bit of a head cold on top of being sick to my stomach after Liverpool won the Premier League with relative ease. That number 20 sticks with me, Jake, being a Manchester United supporter, but I'm putting an asterisk beside Liverpool's because that COVID year behind closed doors, does that really count? Does it?
Yeah, of course they did. They played most of the season before COVID. I think they were about 50 points clear when the break, so it was an inevitable title. Yeah, it was a bad Sunday for Man United fans, wasn't it? With City reaching the FA Cup final.
Details, Jake. You and your facts and details. Push it to the side.
Yeah, no, it's great achievement. Been the best team in the league by a mile this season, the most consistent, comfortably. Been fortunate with injuries, etc. But yeah, they don't do Sundays much worse for Man United fans, do they?
Hey, let's move on. Do you know who's not winning the Champions League? Liverpool. But there is a team still in it for the treble. That is Barcelona. They're among the final four. They take on Inter, whose season is going up in smoke a little bit at present time. The other fixture goes down, at least the first leg on Tuesday. The Arsenal, who are distantly, they can't even see Liverpool. So it's over the mountain and around the corner where Liverpool are, taking on the team that dispatched of Liverpool in the Champions League and PSG. We'll break down these fixtures as well as the Europa League, like I said, and the Conference League on this podcast as well. Let's get straight into it, and let's start off with that Tuesday fixture and with Arsenal and PSG. All the markets that we use are courtesy of Pinnacle, BetSmart, BetPinnacle. Arsenal, the favorite in the first leg, plus 116 to go on and win the tie outright, or the first leg outright, plus 252 on the draw, plus 250 if you want to back PSG. Interestingly, though, the to advance market is very different. Arsenal to advance at plus 112 and PSG at minus 130. Arsenal have had the balance of a week off. They haven't played since last Wednesday. No weekend fixture. You can kind of say the same thing for PSG. They wrapped up the league title quite some time ago, and they've been quote unquote struggling a little bit. I think it's more of a case of if they really care about the league fixtures, because everything is in the Champions League basket at this point. Arsenal were incredible. Let's give them a lot of praise against Real Madrid. 5-1 on aggregate, and it was convincing in terms of the process as well. Mikel Arteta and Arsenal in the Champions League, they've been brilliant. They're on an 8-game unbeaten run in this competition. The longest streak for Arsenal since a 12-game sequence back in 2005-2006. That draw last week, it was 2-2 against Crystal Palace. But this team hasn't lost a game in their last 12. They've actually played to the over in 4 of 5, and both teams to score have played in 5 of 7. And notably, they've been the first to score in their last 9 games. We should also mention that Thomas Partey picked up a completely unnecessary caution in the last leg. He will be out. And Jorginho adds to the list of walking wounded for Arsenal. Doesn't look like he may play. He's suffered a chest injury. As for PSG, they're familiar with playing English competition, getting past both Liverpool and Aston Villa in this competition. The difference was they played in England in the second leg, on both of those occasions. This time, they play the first leg away from home. Like I said, they've scraped a 2-1 win over Le Havre. They drew 1-1 against Nantes, and they lost at home to Nice on Friday night as well. But they are on a very good 18-match scoring streak away from home in all competitions. Luis Enrique has done a phenomenal job with this group. Ousmane Dembele has been excellent. No clean sheet in 5, as I kind of documented. They've gone over in 4 of 5, and both teams' scorers played in 5 of 5. Adding to this fixture is the fact that these two sides played in the league phase of this competition. It was 0.71 to 0.40 on expected goals. There was just one big chance in that game. So not a lot of action in front of goal in that early fixture. I mean, these teams have changed a lot, especially when it comes to Arsenal and the injuries that have kind of seeped into their team. We should also mention on Pinnacle, the total is set at 2.5, the over at -102, and the under at -111. How are you looking at this game and this tie in general, Jake? Seems like a really good opportunity for Arsenal, but PSG have been one of the most impressive sides in European football over the course of the season.
Yeah, they've been excellent. They've shown that they're probably the best overall team or most well-rounded team. But yeah, it's tough to call because I think Arsenal are probably the best defensive team left in the competition, and usually that stands you in good stead when you get to this kind of stage. The big kind of issue or doubt that I have around Arsenal is just Partey's suspension for this first game because he was fantastic in both legs against Madrid. He makes them more mobile. He covers so much ground. There's a lot of pressing, closes a lot of spaces. But without him, it could be very difficult evening with, I think, probably with Marino playing in the 8, and then Rice has to drop even further into the 6, which doesn't really help him, and Trossard as a false 9. So it does upset the apple cart a little bit, and has me kind of leaning towards the under, just because I think that they'll try and be even more solid, even more risk averse in Partey's absence, and really try and make sure that they're still in the tie before, heading to Paris, because I think they'll fancy the chances in the away leg because that suit their style a little bit more. And yeah, unders should have landed in the first leg against Madrid. It was just 3 wonder strikes that saw that click over, but defenses were on top in that one. So yeah, that's the way I'll be playing this. But it's not a super confident play, but that would be my lean is to take the under.
Yeah, I really like this PSG team. I think backing PSG on the handicap here has some value. It's at plus a quarter of a goal at plus 104. So if the game ends in a draw, which I'm kind of leaning, that's kind of the direction I think it may go, then you win half your bet. PSG has shown that they can play big teams very well. There'll be absolutely no fear factor here. Ousmane Dembele, as being one of the top players in all of world football, he has fizzled out in recent weeks, but I chalk that down or chalk that up to complacency more than anything else. Like, this is the tie that matters the most. I think when I just look at this tie, and there's a lot to like about Arsenal, I'm not trying to take anything away, and betting them to advance is very tempting at a plus money value. It's the fact that PSG are absolutely fit and healthy. I don't think they're missing a player from their side. When you strip away both number 9s, you have to, Thomas Partey's out. That means Marino needs to be pushed back. I think he's been playing very well in that false 9, being able to drop and add a different complexion. Gabriel at the back. Like, once you start stripping away some of these key players, it's a big ask for Arsenal. I think a healthy PSG side, like the real only question in terms of their team selection is whether they play Barcola or Doué in the starting 11. Like, you know, that Dembele is going to be there. Kvaratskhelia is going to be there. They struggled a little bit in the first leg against Aston Villa with no Marquinhos. He's in the team. I just think that they're built very well. They have a very good goalkeeper in terms of international club competition in Europe as well. I look at PSG as being a team that I wouldn't bet against if you're going to give me a plus money to get them on the handicap at a quarter of a goal. That's a situation I just cannot turn down. Yeah, that will be my play. I'm expected to be low scoring as well, kind of like it was in the league stage. So I'll take PSG on a quarter of a goal at plus 104. Anything else on the tie in general? You think that there's some value in backing Arsenal to advance?
No, not really. No, I don't want to nail my colours to the mast. There's not. I honestly could see this one going either way. I find it very difficult to pick. It's the same with the other semi, to be fair. I know Inter have been bang out of form, but they have the capabilities to hurt Barcelona over 2 legs. Yeah, I'm just sticking to games as opposed to advance at the moment.
Yeah. It's a workman-like midfield for PSG with very creative players in attack. And again, if you strip away Partey from that midfield, it's a big ask on Declan Rice and Marino and whoever else might be playing in there. So yeah, I think the value is with PSG in the first leg, and then we'll reconvene after that. On Wednesday, it is Barcelona and Inter Milan. Barcelona coming off a dramatic 3-2 victory in extra time to win the Copa del Rey on Saturday. No time for a hangover. But this side, even despite not having Robert Lewandowski, still create chances and are still scoring goals. Barcelona have outscored everyone in the Champions League this season with 37 goals. Inter have had a very good defensive record in the Champions League, but that hasn't carried over as of late. Just one clean sheet in the last 12 games in all competitions for Inter. Barcelona's on the stretch, 3 wins in a row, but they've only lost once in their last 28 games. They have also been first to score in games in 9 of 10. They're unbeaten in their last 15 home games, and the treble is still very much alive for Barcelona as well. I just want to give a shout out to Hansi Flick. He's played in 7 finals as a manager. His teams have played in 7 finals, and he's won each and every 7 of them. He's just a big game manager. He's won the Champions League before, and that could go a long way deciding what should be a very tightly contested tie. Barcelona in the Champions League, 9 wins, a draw, and 2 defeats. Like I said, those 37 goals scored, they're averaging just about 3 goals per game in the Champions League as well. And in the Champions League at home, 21 goals scored, and they've conceded just 4. You should mention Rafinha. I mentioned Dembele when it came to PSG. I mean, Rafinha has been every bit the value as well. He's averaging over 4 shots per 90 minutes in the Champions League, which is outrageous. And he scored 12 goals in the Champions League. He's actually scored 34 goals overall in 56 games over the course of this season. And with Ferran Torres leading the line with Dani Olmo in behind, yes, they miss the presence of Lewandowski, but there's more than enough there with Rafinha on the wing, Lamine Yamal on the wing. The process is still very good for Barcelona. For Inter, you mentioned that they've been on a wobble. They've lost their last 3 in all competitions. The decent enough sides, and the context has been tough too, as the fixture list is built up. Bologna, they lost to AC Milan in the Coppa Italia, then lost 1-0 to Roma on the weekend. No wins in 4 overall and no goals scored in 3. No clean sheet kept in their last 9. Things have got even worse as Benjamin Pavard, who's been a go-to for Inzaghi, limped off after 14 minutes on the weekend. He's a real doubt. Marcus Thuram still hasn't returned, and they've really missed his presence up top, which, for the context, that's why they haven't been scoring goals. Him and Lautaro Martinez have really formed a really solid partnership. They're a much different side without Thuram in the team. In Europe, Inter, 9 wins, 2 draws, and just 1 defeat, scored 19 goals and have just conceded 5. Away from home, they've won 4 times, drawn once, and lost once, scoring just 6 goals, but conceding even fewer. Head-to-head, these two sides of history, Barcelona, no clean sheet in their last 5 against Inter. Both teams score a played in 4 of 5, and Barcelona has scored first in 7 of 9. When it comes to this game on Pinnacle, the market, Barcelona a favorite to win this one, minus 161. The draw plus 333. Inter to win at plus 429, and the total is set at 3. How are you looking at this, Jake?
Yeah, I think Barca win this first leg, and I think it could be a wide margin, but I think the handicap that's been dangled at -1 at plus 105 is a solid bet. Money back if they win by 1 goal. Any more than that, which we know they're more than capable of, you get a nice winner. For a number of reasons, really. Like you said, Inter, the schedule's been horrific for them. They've played 5 times. This will be the 5th game in 2 weeks. So they've played Bayern, Bologna, Milan, Roma, Barca, all in the space of 14 days. And they've had to travel as well. They're playing this first game away from home. Barcelona had the cup final in Spain, obviously, so they had an extra day's rest. Granted, they had extra time, but they also don't have to travel. Inter, the season's kind of fallen apart. Out the cup, outsiders in the Scudetto. They've failed to score in all 3 of the last matches as well against teams that are better, one of some of the better teams in Italy, but we know where Barcelona are much better than all of those sides. At home, they've been pretty sensational of late. 12 wins in 15 home games across all competitions. They've scored 46 times as well. And I know Inter, they came through a tie against Bayern Munich, but I think we'd all agree that Barcelona are a better team than Bayern Munich, especially in attack. Bayern Munich, over 2 legs, created 3.7 expected goals. But I thought it was really interesting that in the first leg, which was in the Allianz, Inter conceded 5 big chances in that game, and were really fortunate to come away with a win. I just think if they defend in the same way here, they're going to get punished heavily by Barcelona. So more than happy to give Barca the nod on the handicap at plus 105, knowing that if they win the game 1-0, 2-1, we get our money back.
Bingo. I'm going to go a step further. I think both teams to score and Barcelona to win is a very good bet, especially we can get it on Pinnacle at plus 210. As much as Barcelona are an absolute machine going forward, the Pavard miss, that's a significant miss for Inter as well. I think Barcelona can score and will score multiple goals at this game, but there's no value in the multiple goals market. For Barcelona to go over 1.5 goals, it's way out at minus 178. I think we both acknowledge that Barcelona is a better side, especially at home. For them to score and win this game, do you trust them enough to keep a clean sheet against literally any team of quality for Barcelona? No, I mean, I don't. I know Inter's been struggling, but they showed against Bayern Munich that they can punch back. They're advantageous. They have creative players going forward. Even with the potential loss of Thuram in the first leg, Dumfries has an outside shot of coming back into the team. He adds another layer in terms of what their attack looks like. So I think both teams to score and Barcelona win at that number, Jake, at plus 210 makes a whole lot of sense for me to back in this tie.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. If it becomes a bit of a shootout, there's only one team going to win that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our look to the Champions League. I should ask you, any futures play? Like Barcelona's shifted to plus 200, just not a whole lot of value there. Inter plus 500 to go on and win the Champions League. Is there any bet to be made? I mean, these are, I think that PSG and Barcelona play the best football, but Arsenal, no slouch. Inter, no slouch, obviously. It's a fairly even or evenly contested, at least on paper, Final Four.
It is, yeah. You've got two teams that are very attack-minded, two teams that are much more built around the defence. I was on Inter, I think you were as well, about the plus 1100, something like that, before they played against, was it Feyenoord they beat in the last 16. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the position on that one. I don't think they're going to get past Barcelona, but nice to be on them at a big price. Yeah, I think the interesting one's Arsenal really at plus 275. It just comes down to how you rate their them up against PSG. And I think, like I say, if Partey was available, I'd be much more inclined to get them on side in terms of advancing. But either way, like you said, it's wide open. Anybody could win this. You could, if any of the 4 teams won it, we wouldn't be massively surprised, would we?
No, exactly. Very quickly, let's shift our attention to the Europa League, which for me, being a United supporter, it's the new Champions League, right? Like this is a huge competition for Manchester United. They take on Athletic Club Bilbao on Thursday, the first leg away from home in Spain. I have no bet in this game because I find Manchester United a very difficult team to not only watch, but also in terms to get a read on in terms of the betting markets as well. They concede silly goals, but their inability to score goals is something that stands out. But they also have this knack for games like this, especially in the Europa League, when games slow down a little bit more than the pace of play in the Premier League, that they're able to hang in games. They're the only side that hasn't lost a match in the Europa League, and they find themselves in a semi-final. What's your read on Athletic Club and Manchester United?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very difficult game for United. Obviously, we know they're not the best team in England. They're bottom half for a reason. But Bilbao are one of the best teams in Spain. At home this season, they've been sensational. Across the Liga and Europa League matches, they've won 16, drawn 6 and lost just once. Their underlying process in Europe, they've won all 6 of the games in Europe, is brilliant. At San Mamés, 1.6 expected goals for, 0.7 against. And I think that defensive number tells me that they're probably going to limit United to very little. And we know how poor United are going forward as it is. So, to me, it's just a case of can Bilbao score? Because if they score, I think they win. And I think the answer is yes. So I'm happy to back Bilbao on the money line at minus 102. Also going to have a small bet on Bilbao win to 0 at plus 226. United, they needed a 96-minute goal against 10 men to avoid a loss to nil again. And Bilbao at home 1-0 in 4 of the 6 in Europe. I think that Bilbao are the best team left in the competition in my mind, and they've got the final in Bilbao as well if they get through. So there's even more incentive. And they'll have seen what happened in at Old Trafford for Sociedad and then Lyon, and they'll want to take a lead over to Manchester, something that those two clubs didn't manage.
Yeah, I can see it. They've also had a week off between games as well in the build-up to this one. Well, Manchester United was very interesting. Ruben Amorim basically played somewhat close to a best 11 on the weekend against Bournemouth. I think he's looking for rhythm or some sort of identity, narrative to help his team heading into that game. For whatever reason, Jake, I can't rule out Manchester United. What we saw against Lyon is just something quintessentially United. Like, you don't see that from other clubs on a regular basis. And we all know the importance of this competition for Manchester United. Bilbao is a team that I don't think should strike fear in them. The one thing that I will say about this United side under Amorim is that they're very well organized. Is that enough to limit a Bilbao team that, isn't a great attacking side? They're a very, the majority of the games are very low scoring in nature. So, I mean, the total for this game is set at 2.25. Like, considering how United give away goals, concede goals for fun, that number jumps off the page for me. So I'm just going to watch this. I'll see if the market shift or move heading to kickoff, but there's nothing for me there. The feel-good story of the Europa League is Boto Glimt. The Norwegian side from the Arctic Circle is playing Spurs, and we'll see how Spursy Spurs can be in the semifinal. I mean, this is their season. This is Big Ange, perhaps his future at the club on the line as well. Bodo Glimt has like 3 players suspended based upon how they advanced against Lazio, and they suffered an injury to one of their main center backs on the weekend as well. I mean, that's grim for a side that really plays good football as a team, but losing so many key players ahead of this first leg, that doesn't bode well, especially away from home.
Doesn't bode well, no. I think you missed a chance there.
That was good.
Yeah, you're right. There are question marks, there are doubts, but I mean, Tottenham are incredibly short for this game. Like, we're talking about the team that sit in the bottom 5 of the Premier League table, and they are minus 330 to win a football match. That's just way too short. And you're giving Bodo Glimt plus 1 3/4 of a goal head start, and I'm more than happy to take that. It's just the most obvious play going. Bodo, they've done all right so far. They deserve to be here. They've knocked out Lazio, who were at one point the favourite for the competition. Olympiacos, who won the Conference League last season, knocked those out as well. They've shown that they're capable of scoring plenty of goals. And Spurs, since the start of February, they've won 5, drawn 2, and lost 9 of the last 16. At home, they've won 6, drawn 5, and lost 7 of the last 18. They've only beaten Man United twice, Liverpool in the first leg of the Carabao, Southampton, Elfsborg, and AZ Alkmaar. So not exactly massive sides. They failed to beat Ipswich, Wolves, Leicester in that run. And if you'd have backed the 1 3/4 handicap blind in Tottenham's last 18 home games, you would have had a winner 15 times, and you would have lost just once, half loss on 2 occasions. And away from home, Bodo in the Europa League this season, this bet would have won 5 times and delivered half a loss once. So basically, if Bodo lose by 2 goals, we get half our money back. If they lose by 1 goal or draw or get a win, we get a full payout. And I'm more than happy to take that, because Spurs, as you said, Spurs are at the best of times. They don't play very well under pressure, and obviously this is their season. In a nutshell, this is their game. This is it, pretty much. Because going to the Arctic Circle is a very, very difficult place to go, as many teams have found out. So Spurs need to get a result in this first leg, and I think that pressure is not going to go well for them.
What I know about Bodo Glimt, they can score goals, especially away from home. They scored 2 at Old Trafford in the league phase of this competition. I'm going to take a punt on the both teams to score and Spurs win market as well. At plus 192, the context is there. Bodo Glimt has the leading goal scorer in this competition, Kasper Hu, at 6 goals in this competition. They scored a big goal in extra time against Lazio to push the penalties in the last phase of this competition. I won't completely rule them out. I think that Spurs are deserved favorites heading into this one. They understand the magnitude of this game as well, what it means. I think I'm not touching Spurs on the handicap, but Spurs to win this game, both teams to score, seems a good play for me, just based on where the number's at plus 192. Nothing for me in the Conference League, but perhaps you want to take a quick look before we wrap up.
Yeah, we had success with Chelsea winning to 0 in the last round. Was it last round? Legia Warsaw, I think it was. Same again, rinse and repeat. They're playing Swedish side Djurgardens. It's plus 138 for a win to 0. As I mentioned, Chelsea's styles changed a little bit recently. They've become much more controlled, and it's led to basically them conceding very few goals. The last 12 games, all competitions, they've conceded just 7 goals, kept 7 clean sheets in those 12, conceded just 0.76 expected goals against. And when you factor in that Chelsea's entire squad value is more than the entirety of the Conference League teams put together, they should be going to these kind of places and winning fairly comfortably, as they did in the last round. So a nice and easy win to 0 for Chelsea, who are just a class above most of these teams.
I mean, they're minus 235 to win the Conference League. I'll just say Real Betis at plus 450 is worth a look for me. Fiorentina, not a great team. I think they can advance. They're the favorites in the first leg at minus 143 at home, but they've really turned things around. They actually do have some difference makers in their side. And I think that on the balance of it, they can beat Chelsea. And at plus 450, if you get them now, this is the time to get on side with them if you think that a Chelsea side could be vulnerable. I'm still not impressed. Nicholas Jackson coming back into the Chelsea team has actually added a player that can score goals that kind of rewards the rather mundane play. But I think that Betis is worth a punt to win this competition right now at plus 450. All right, that's it. Quick and easy for a Monday. We'll be back on Wednesday to take a look at the rest of the week that will be across European football's biggest and best domestic leagues. Good stuff, Jake. Anything else to add before we go?
No, that's a lot. Enjoy the midweek.
Will do. Enjoy your Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League football, and we'll do it all again later on in the week. This has been episode 40 of Pinnacle FC.